Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Jason Mark Campbell, and we're going to be having a lot of fun as we're going to have a chance to have a conversation about how to turn your podcast into something that you can create to something that is absolutely great. So I'm going to have somebody coming here to teach you all these concepts because matter of fact is when I run Superhumans at Work, I am actually just the person behind the scenes that's actually just recording interviews, but someone is really doing the work when it comes to making it awesome. I'm talking about how do you structure the podcast, how do you prepare for interviews, all those little things that need to go in place of making a podcast be great. We're going to be able to answer that here. So if you're tuning in, I want to know who is here, what's your name, what time is it? And I'm just waiting for Viv actually to be joining me as my guest on this podcast. So we're going to take a few minutes as we're going to make sure we get cozy, we get people ready, and we're also going to make sure that questions get answered. Now, I also want to make sure that we're going to get our people here on Instagram who are going to be joining us. So if you're here, I think Shweta Joseph, you were one of the first people to comment here. So I want to see if you're still here. I see there's a few people joining. So if you're here, we're going to get started in a few where we're really going to get a chance to cover topics around how to turn your podcast into something absolutely great. Now, with that, we're going to get started in a few minutes. I ran into a technical difficulty, to be honest. We're waiting for Viv to just log back into the interview. So I'm going to take a moment to announce on Instagram for people to come and join in. So if you're just tuning in, make sure to introduce yourself. We're probably going to be going around for 1 hour, and we're going to be covering a lot of topics. And if you're not familiar with what we're doing here, I'm actually creating a course on how to podcast by live streaming to you the content that we record. So I see that we have JV is here from the Philippines. We got Rosana here. Rosana Dragani, where are you from? Let us know, because we got Jay here who's from the Philippines. Good to see you. We're going to have Viv joining us in a few moments. I'm just waiting for her to log back in. So if you want to grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, we're going to get recording into the content in about 2 minutes. I just want to make sure I notify the people on Instagram. So live on YouTube. There we go. So let me go live here. And so we'll get some more people coming to join us. And so here we are live on Instagram. And we have people that are logging into YouTube where we're actually doing a live stream, and I'm going to be doing it in an interview fashion. So if you're watching this right now on Instagram, you're going to want to come over to YouTube. So click the link in the bio to come join the live stream on YouTube. Perfect. I put this comment, then I'm supposed to pin this comment, and I think we're good to go. So hi, Suman. Good to see you. I'm actually directing people who are coming here on the Instagram to join us actually on YouTube. So on the YouTube, I put a link to this video on my bio on Instagram. So if you go there, you're going to be able to join the people here on YouTube. We have a few people that are logging in. We're making sure to get ready. Viv is going to join us as this is going to be an interview session. And so you won't get a chance to see this on the Instagram. I'll leave this running so you can discover what's going on. But I see Chris Kayla is both on the Instagram and on the YouTube, but stick to the YouTube. This is where the magic's going to happen. And here's some updates. So we have JV here talking about how Viv's episode on Superhumans at Work is where it all started. Glad to see to keep it moving and hearing more from both of you. We're going to share some pretty epic stuff. We were just about to go live 2 minutes ago, and then something happened to Viv's internet connection. So I think she's just restarting the computer, and I like to make the show go on right on time. And so what I want to introduce people to is the fact that when I do this Instagram live, well, I basically want people to come over to YouTube. This is where it's going to happen. If you're here on YouTube, I've been doing this a few weeks where I actually went through the basics of how to get started with a podcast. And then I even talked about how do you market a podcast. And those are two big things that we wanted to cover as far as people are asking questions when it comes to podcast production. But we left a big gap, and that gap is really where I don't have as much expertise as Viv does, because Viv actually handles the production of her own podcast. She's a host of her own podcast, and she does a lot of these elements that happen behind the scenes. What are key people that you bring on, that you work with, and we want to answer your questions. So for those of you who are here on YouTube tuning in live, do you currently have a podcast? If so, I'd love to know the name of your podcast so we can actually check it out. We might even go use it as a case study. And so post up the name of your podcast. If you haven't started a podcast yet, that's okay too. Just let us know you haven't started yet. And this will give us an idea to tailor the questions and the answers that we provide to the audience that is tuning in live. And this is the most fun part about creating a course like this, which Since we're kind of doing an inception behind the scenes, this is actually a tool I'd love to share with people. Is I'm using this program called Ecamm.live. Ecamm Live is actually a really cool software for doing interviews and live streaming in the process. When I did my previous streams, I would use Streamlabs OBS, which is a more known kind of platform, especially for people in gaming that would do streaming. But this one is actually really cool and quite advanced when it comes to actually being able to bring someone on as an interview. So I'm testing the software out as the first time. It was very easy for Viv to log in. Unfortunately, had her own connection issue when she was getting in, so we're going to wait for her to come back to get right into the content. But this is a really cool way that you can record yourself, set up your video, set up your microphone, use different overlays, and bring guests on to interview. You can have a few guests at the same time. I believe it's up to 6, and it doesn't even cost that much. I believe that even right now I'm on a free trial, so you get to test it out. It does have this little logo here, but I might as well give them some credit. I remember these were a platform that was available for live streaming before live streaming was even cool. Like this was maybe like 6 years ago. We were using this to do trainings for people that are part of the Mindvalley community back in the day. And then I was wondering, what's the best way I can actually go ahead and have people be able to join us during an interview process? And the problem with using Zoom is it doesn't let you use an existing setup that you've done on YouTube, so it wants to create a whole new one. It got complicated, so I wanted to bring everybody on this platform. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I see Viv is actually back on Instagram, and hopefully she's going to be able to join us on the YouTube. So Viv, if you're listening to this, you got to click that same link that I've sent you before. And if you're tuning in on Instagram, go to the link in my bio so you can join us on YouTube. We have a few people that are joining in here, and I was asking everybody if they've had a chance to start a podcast themselves, so we can make sure that everybody gets a chance to interact with us during the interview process. So, Viv, I have sent you the link, and I'm hoping I can bring you on while we are live. And we have Rosanna. You haven't started yet. I'd be curious to know, Rosanna. And thank you for having the courage to just say this. A lot of people are just started. I'd be curious to know, what are your biggest fears or hesitations or reasons why you haven't started yet? I'd love to get some clarity on that, and maybe we can help you overcome whatever is the barrier that you feel is in place when it comes to getting you started. So I'm going to check on Viv here. And Chris is starting an interesting podcast. The Art of Navigating Life would be fun to subject for a case study. Yes, well, I'm actually going to go pull it up. I'm going to go look at The Art of Navigating Life and see if I can find it. Of Navigating Life podcast. So I Google search that. And I have life. I'm going to have to probably add your name, Chris. It didn't come up immediately. Ooh, is it on Stitcher? Ooh, I'm not sure if I can find it right now. So if I cannot find it, that is a problem. We're going to need to work on that. So we have Jay started my podcast. It's been a month since my last episode. There we go. So unpopular podcast on Spotify. So I see there's a link there. This is great. I'm going to be able to click that link and open it. Chris, if you have a link, that would be the ideal. And I think we have Viv that's going to be joining us finally in the green room. I think she's ready. Give me a thumbs up, Viv, if you want to just jump right into it. And I'm going to bring you on immediately. So let me just see. I'm going to switch to here. I'm going to add you to the left. And here we have it. Viv, welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry about what happened.
It happens. That's why we just got to be quick on our feet and ready to roll. For everybody here, say hi to Viv. Viv came on the podcast with me, and she's the amazing woman behind the scenes doing amazing stuff when it comes to the Superhumans at Work podcast, but you're running your own stuff, and I actually want to give you the floor for that. Tell us more about what you've been doing in the podcast world.
Thank you, Jason. And I need to apologize for being a little bit late. Um, so, yeah, I do have my own podcast aside from managing Mindvalley's both podcasts, Superhumans at Work and Mindvalley podcast. I have my own podcast, which is called Ajnabi, something like an outsider. It will be translated probably like that. And then I have yet another one in English. It's called Cause It's Me. hope I said the name correctly because I haven't uploaded anything there in a very long time. So yeah.
Awesome. And you know, it's funny because I'm actually in the background. Oops, let's see here.
You
I got,
are.
oops, no, I got to switch to the right. There we go. I'm in the background. I'm talking to the people in Instagram to make sure that they come over here on YouTube so we can all get to interact together. So for those who are actually coming here live, one thing I want to make sure is that we're actually answering some of your questions on this call. You see Viv's been doing amazing stuff on her own, and she's been doing amazing stuff with me too. And one of the things we haven't covered yet is, you know, the whole production side of the podcast. So I was going to ask you, like, based on the podcast you've been doing and even with the work you're doing with me, like, how do we divide it up? Like, how much do you think it is about like creating the content versus marketing the content versus producing the content? Like, how would you divide that level of effort?
I would say the creating and producing would be, let's say, 60%. I wanted to say 50-50, but then right now I'm like, okay, maybe it would be 60% of that.
Hmm.
And then the rest would be for the marketing. They always say whatever content you put out there, if you, let's say, spend 1 hour of your time recording, creating, producing that content, make sure you spend at least the same amount of time just promoting it and marketing it. Because I said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you have the best content outside and then you upload it, but you don't market it, nobody's going to ever know what it is. So they're not even going to listen to it. You won't get subscribers, nothing. It will be zero.
Yep. And that's a shame because I know there's a lot of people that have amazing content, and if they're not putting in that effort to promote it, well, a tree that falls in a forest with nobody listening doesn't make any sound, does it? So I'm excited to do this because you've seen me do these live course recording on YouTube live with an audience, and now you're going to get a chance to come and join us as well. So what I'd love to do is maybe just make sure that we're addressing some of the issues of the people that are live at the same time of making sure we cover core content. I know I've mentioned to you before, one of the core content pieces that I know is missing in this mini course is, you know, how do you structure an episode? Like, what are the ingredients? Because we talked about how do you create your first podcast. Like, that was a pretty rough way to do it. It's just like hit record and put it out there, and just don't create any barriers to get started. But I know some people are like, okay, no, wait, I want to have like at least a minimum structure here. Like, what's my intro? Do I need a jingle? Are there little best case practices? If you were going to do a video piece of content on that, do you think that's something you can explain in 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How long do you think it would take?
I think it would take 5 minutes. It's easy because I
Yeah.
just have to explain the structure. It's not a big deal.
All right.
What people are going to do with it, that's what's going to take longer time. But
All
my
right. Well,
explanation.
I think what's going to be fun is I'm going to give you the floor, and then you're going to actually go ahead and explain that structure for the people listening. I'm going to go and get our people from Instagram to come over to YouTube. So I'll be talking to you here. And you're going to have the floor for 5 minutes. I'm going to give you the camera, and you're going to give your full lesson. Now, as you've seen me do this on live, just say like, hi, I'm Viv. Just say like, here's what we're going to talk about, explain what they learn, and then tell them what they just learned. So the structure of the creating a course is, it's always the same. It's, hi, here's what you're going to learn. You teach them, here's what you just learned. And then you have a content piece. So with that, do you need any other instructions to go into our first video recording?
I think I'm good.
I think so.
I hope I'm good. This is kind of stressful. Okay.
No, you're doing fine. You're always awesome. So I'm not worried about you. That's why I thought it would be I've wanted to bring you on to this course, because for those who don't know, we do have a course that we've created on how to start your first podcast. It's a really beginner's course, and it's perfect for getting started. So if you have any hesitations on getting started, what I'll do is, while Viv is doing this amazing sessions, you pay attention. I'm going to make sure you all have a link so you can join the course, and I'll put this in the comments, and we're going to have some fun doing that. So I'm going to switch it over to you, Viv. So hold on. This scene needs to be solo. I'm playing around with this new software. So you see now it's just you that's here. Mm-hmm. And what I'm going to do is mute myself. And as soon as I say the floor is yours, give it 3 seconds, and then you give your whole lesson. And when you're done, double thumbs up it. All right?
Okay.
Are you ready? Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Viv on our first content piece video, which is how to structure your podcast. And so the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3. Hi, everyone. This is Viv, and I'm a podcast producer and podcast specialist, and I do have my own podcast. Today, we will be learning all about the structure of a podcast, how to make it, how to create it, how to come up with all of those jingles and everything. And then you will have the perfect and the easiest, simplest way to do it. The first very important thing after you guys know exactly what the topic is that you're going to talk about is, as you have already learned, to have a mic and then to start recording. So now we know the topic, we have the mic, we have the application, we are recording. What's very important for you guys is to have a jingle. Jingle would be that little tiny song or tone that is at the very beginning of the podcast, or even you can talk on a piece of music, and then it will be like the introduction for people to know what your podcast is going to be about. Then you will start. um, if your podcast is an interview podcast, you're definitely going to give the bio of the person, who the person is, why you're interviewing that person, and what the topic is going to about. Then the conversation is going to start. But if you don't have an interview podcast, what you're going to do is that you're just going to give them a little bit of warm up conversation about why you wanted to start with this topic, what they're going to hear, so they won't be, caught off guard. So then you will go on with the main topic. It's just like a writing. You see, you have the introduction and then you have the body. There, you writing the main idea of whatever that is happening. Then you have the conclusion. In the conclusion part, you will be summarizing whatever that has happened, the most important tips that has been mentioned throughout the podcast. You can just mention them right there one more time for people to actually know if they have missed it in the podcast. Then you would sum it up and say goodbye. But before doing that, you need to also make sure that if it is an interview podcast, your author, your guest, actually says goodbye to the audience as well. And make sure you ask them to give the links where they people can connect with them. So be like, oh, okay, so where can people find you online? Then they can give their Instagram link, Twitter link, whatever link they want to go with. And then you wrap it up, say goodbye. There's another jingle that is going to end the show. Now, one thing that is super cool that we always do, it actually helps your podcast to be even more interesting for people to listen to it, is that at the very beginning, let's say 30 seconds of it, we just put the hook of it. What is the hook? The hook is the part that is like the most intriguing, the most interesting part of the interview. We just cut it out and then put it at the very beginning of the podcast. So the structure now goes like this: it is the hook. So the person would be super interested, thinking, oh my God, what am I going to hear? What is going to happen? I really want to know more. So the hook, and then your jingle comes, or the jingle plus the intro that you have specifically for your show. Then you will start saying hi. And then if it is the guest, you start introducing the person. If not, then you're just going to go ahead and talk about whatever the conversation is. And those jingle parts, the most important thing about them is that they need to be copyright free. So it is super easy for you to find them. You can just search, you can just Google copyright free jingles, podcast copyright free intros, or copyright free songs, things like this. You can easily find them. You can find them on YouTube Library as well. YouTube Library has some copyright free pieces of music as well, which are really interesting. Take a listen and see if you want it. You can use those. If not, you can use the credit free, or you can actually find somebody who creates jingles and ask them to make one that is specifically for you for your show. So when people are listening to that, they know, oh, okay, so this is my podcast that I want to listen to. They know Viv by this jingle, they know Jason by the other jingle. So make sure that you have something that is special and it's only for you. After that, once you're done, I mean, this jingle adding and the hook adding part goes for the editing. And once you add them in the editing, you're good to go. You just extract a file and then you can just publish it. Just make sure, one more important thing would be, make sure that volume is the same. So you match the volume on whatever application you're working on. It has to be on 16. Make sure that it is on that number so that it will be appealing to the ears of the people who are listening to it, no matter where they are. And that is perfect. You are good to go. Nothing more to add. So, what we're going to do right now is to give you a summary of however this structure is. One, we have the hook. Then after that, we have the jingle. After the jingle, we have the main body, whatever conversation we want to talk about. If it's an interview, you do the introduction, give the bio of the person, and then do the body, talk about the conversation, whatever questions you have, or whatever story you want to tell to people. It's that. Then you summarize it so that if someone has missed any points during that whole conversation, they can hear it one more time so it is repeated for them. And then after that, you say goodbye. You have the last jingle, and the podcast finishes. I hope you could use this and you could create perfect bomb content out there and produce it out on whatever podcast platform you have and become one of the most viral top 10 podcasts out there. Thank you very much. This was Viv, podcast producer.
Ta-da!
Oh my God, Jesus, that was hard.
Was it? No, it's fun. You get to create some content. How did you like it for those of you listening in? Did she do all right? Did you understand the structure? I know for me, this is what I recapped is hook, jingle, then main body, which includes the A intro, which is a bio, then the main content, then you summarize it with and then you'd have a 4 last jingle. Is that it?
Yes.
There we go. And then when you talked about the jingles, it was very interesting. You speak about how, and see, you already got Rosanna here is talking about how fantastic you are. So you did absolutely well. Now, when I'm finding these jingles, that was one of the questions I had, which you did answer in your message here, is that, oh my God, where do I find this jingle? And there's a lot of royalty-free stuff you can find. And I also hear a lot of times these like cue, like, when there's like a, in my podcast, yeah, there's like these little transition though. So it's like you started adding what were these mid rolls, and for those who don't know, the mid rolls is like halfway in the interview there's like a commercial, right? But you make it sound something that goes like
yeah, we call the whoosh.
The whoosh.
Yeah.
So
With the sound engineer, we actually call it the whoosh.
So let's talk about that. So I know for us, we use a sound engineer. For anybody listening here, like, do you need a sound engineer? And like, what's the level of production we should be starting with? And at what point do you start looking for a sound engineer?
For people here, I should tell them, or they're going to answer?
I don't know. For anybody here, would you, well, first off, let's define what is a sound engineer and doing. Actually, I think that's our next video.
Mm-hmm.
Our next video is, do we need a sound engineer? And what's the cost of it? How do you find them? And when do you need them?
Okay. So I think, honestly, if I want to create my own stuff, I don't really look for a sound engineer
No,
because
right?
it's not that easy to find it, to understand how to work with the application. And since podcast is becoming super trendy, so you can just search. It's literally clicks away from you. You can just Google how to edit. I even actually have a YouTube video link that I can share it with you guys. It actually gives you step by step of what you got to do on Adobe Audition. And it's so simple. The guy explains it in the best and the easiest way possible. So you easily go through it and then you're all good to go.
Perfect. Now you just mentioned Adobe Audition.
Yeah.
This is an audio.
I use Adobe Audition.
That's an audio and editing software, right?
It is, yes. So we have Audacity and Adobe Audition. We have more, but these are the two very common ones that we use.
I know we mentioned earlier that you can do some editing with Anchor. Do you recommend it?
I have not used Anchor myself, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's probably limiting a bit, right?
Yeah, I have not used Anchor myself. I cannot say that I do recommend it because it's super awkward. Why do I recommend when I have not ever used it? It's super weird.
Yeah.
But my friend does, and her podcast is in Spanish, so I have never listened to it. But I think it is good because she has a lot of people who are listening to her podcast. It's very interactive. So I'm guessing it's really good.
All
It's
right.
very simple. It's like cuts and stuff,
Fair enough.
as far as
Now let's go into some of the questions we got here, such as Nero Frontiers. By the way, Nero, I'd love to know where you're from and what time it is for you, and what is your name. I'm sure your name was not Nero Frontiers unless you're a hidden son of Elon Musk and he decided to call you Nero. Now, he or she was mentioning, hey Viv, you mentioned volume. You said 16 or 60. I'm assuming you said
16.
60. What is the 60 you
One,
refer to?
it's 16.
Oh,
16.
I did make a
So
mistake. So what's the
you
16 mean?
yes. So let me first of all share this with you guys. Can I share anything in the comment section?
Yeah, you can just jump in. Can you leave a comment?
Or I
I'm
could share the link with you and you can share it there if you want.
yeah, for sure. Go ahead. Send it to me on the WhatsApp.
Let me open this and I can actually share it on my screen if I can share my screen with people, I can actually show them how to do it.
Oh, does it allow you to
Super
share your
simple.
screen from this platform?
I think so. Let me see. First of all, let me share this link with you.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is the perfect link.
So we're probably going to throw that into the course as well. Gemma, thank you, Gemma, for revealing your name. And you're in the UK. This is awesome. So link from Viv.
I think I can share right now. Can you see it?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I can. Oh, this is cool. All right, I'm going to switch to it. So I'm going to have it with picture in picture. And there you have it. You
I
are
need
in
to
the
just
corner.
wait.
All right, I'm
All
sharing
right.
your entire screen right now.
Okay, so we have to just wait for this to show up because the application is super heavy.
Uh-oh.
How about stop sharing right now and once it's open, I start sharing again.
All right, so let me just
Yeah.
let me X that. You're gonna have to start
Awesome.
sharing again, and I'm gonna come to
Okay,
the right.
once it's opened, I'll share
So I did put the link up, and this is to how to use this
it. Okay.
platform that Viv
Yes.
recommends, which is the Adobe Edition, and that will be the specific tools that are used to edit the episode. So Rasana, that's the answer for you. And when you say 16, what does 16 mean? It's like a level of audio?
Yes, it's the level of volume.
Got it, got it. And so is
That's
that
what I was actually going to show you guys.
ah? All right, so let me know if you're able to share that again. For everybody else listening, I'd be curious to know from you going ahead and making your podcast. Earlier, I asked the question, what are some of the challenges you have? I see some people were mentioning mindset and being able to create content that is relevant or making or part of making awesome. So this episode is really relevant. One of the things I did talk about when it was looking for relevant topics is I did mention that for whatever niche that you're doing a podcast for, I actually recommended to go on Quora and see what people are asking about the topic to see if there was some interesting titles you could come up with that would be very relevant because people are already asking questions about it. So that was one. When it comes to the mindset, I do address a lot of that in the course. So I put a course, the Join the Podcast course. If you see the link I put in the comments, you should definitely join that because I address the mindset part in the first part of the course. We have a few people here that have some case studies. And
Okay, I think we can do it. I think actually I can record it right, whatever we're talking about right now,
all
and
right.
then edit it right in front of everyone.
And it was 16 decibel?
Yes.
It is decibel. If you share your
No.
screen,
Yeah,
yeah, do you want to try sharing your screen again and try to record something on it?
I think so. Yes.
All right. I think it'll make a good
Hopefully.
episode.
Let's see. Do you guys see it? Because I
Um,
don't see you at all, so you gotta tell me.
I got you. Now I see it. There's the screen is there. I see this like it looks like musical instrument or it's going to be some waves going on. So yes, it is up there and your picture is small in the corner to the bottom left. But I can remove your picture if you want to have just the screen shared.
It doesn't really matter for me. It's all good.
All right. Do you want to do a recording of this? Because what I'll do is I can actually make you go solo. And you can explain
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to walk people through Adobe Edition as your tool and then just walk them on what
Mm-hmm.
you do. Is that like a 5-minute video?
It could be, yeah, even shorter.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you as the max. Now it's just your face. And then I'm going to actually switch back to your shared screen with your face in the corner. So just say an introduction, say, hey, we're going to be talking about how to edit using Adobe Audition, explain why you use it, and then what is the major things that you do with it, and then just walk us through it. And that'll be the second piece of
Okay, should
content.
I introduce myself as well again?
Yeah, just
Or
quickly, just say like, hey, this is Viv again.
all right.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then
Again,
you'll
it's
see
cool.
I'll chop this all up and it'll all be part of the course. And for those who haven't signed up to the course, I see Rosanna is already in the course, so I'm glad you're there. All of this, these pieces that Viv is actually recording content is going to be part of the course. So Viv, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So whenever you want to switch to your screen, just say like, and now we'll go over to my screen, and then you'll see I'll magically do it. I'll be the producer behind the scenes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'll mute myself. So you are live in 3, 2.
Hi, this is Viv again. Today we're going to talk about how to edit our audios a little bit. Now I'm going to switch to my screen so you would actually see how it works. Okay, so I have a file right now. Not this one, we just recorded it. I have a file right now. This is the file that I have recorded. Now, what like the simplest parts that you can do is that you listen to it and then imagine there's this part that you don't like it, whether the information is relevant or is irrelevant, or you just don't like the way it sounds, or you just want to remove it for whatever reason. You just click it, like have it like this, and then press delete, and then you're good to go. So simple. This whole thing, I have done the editing for it, so it's so good. The thing that I was actually mentioning in the live as well was you need to make sure that the loudness of all the files that you're using in that one uh, final file is the same. So if I'm using the jingle, if I'm using the hook, if I'm using, I don't know, the interview from someone else, and then also there's another jingle, I have to make sure all of this have the same level of loudness. For that, what I'm gonna do is this. Let's see, I have two files right here, right? In this little box right here, you can see markers, effects rack, essential sound, and then match loudness. If you don't have match loudness, you need to actually have it. I'm not really sure. Probably right here. Yes. Go to Windows and then you can find match loudness right here, or Alt plus 5, and then you have it right here. So once you have it, what you're going to do is you're going to take both these files and then put them down here. Now, this will actually tell you the loudness that they actually have, which is minus 47 this one and minus 16 this one. Now, the targets that we need to look for the podcast to have perfect audio quality wherever people are listening to, whatever tool they're listening with. So you just press on here, make sure it is minus 16, 1, 6. And then once it is right there, you click run. What this does is that it matches both audios, and right now both of them have the same level of loudness. Then you can start adding the jingle and then having your actual file, whatever you want to add. Make the last part and then export the file that you have. Once you've exported it, before actually publishing it, make sure one more time. So let me just do this so you will see. Okay, this was my file, right? And then I want to add this to it as well. If you can see, this was before, this is after. See how it changed? And right now I can just add this. The ones that they don't know, if you want to add a lot of things, you go to File, to New, and then Multitask Session. Here, you can actually open whatever file you want to have and then put them all together. So I'll put this. This is just very random. I'm just putting it. They're not even related to each other. And then I put the other one right here. I want this to, let's just imagine this is the jingle of my file. So I'll have it in the very end, right here. And so when this finishes, this comes on. I can even put this a little bit like fade in liner. So this one fades when this one starts. And then I'll go to File, I export it, multi-track, mix down, entire session. So once I have it done and it's ready, this is going to take a little bit of time. So I'm not even going to go with this. Once it is done, you have the final file on your disk. So make sure the file that you have, let's just open it right here. The final file that I have, hopefully right here, yes, it's gonna open right here, and I have to make sure still the loudness is the same. It has to be minus 16, as I mentioned before. So let's just check it one more time before actually uploading it, so people can hear the voice in the best possible way. Crispy, beautiful, loudness, perfect level. So see, right now it is minus 19. We have to still go to the targeted loudness that is minus 16. You run one more time, and then it actually turns your audio into minus 16. Then you can save this file, and this is the final file that you are going to publish. I think we're done with this. So yes, as you guys know, what we do is when you have the files, whatever number of files, audio files that you have that you want to put it all together and then create the final one, you make sure that the loudness of all of them, the level is minus 16, 1 6. And then once you match the loudness in the way that I showed you, you can just put them together in that multi-session and then export it. Once you exported it, before actually publishing it, one more time, make sure the final file's loudness is also minus 16. So you will have this perfect voice, this perfect loudness that whoever is going to listen to your podcast, they're going to enjoy it no matter what. And that is it. Thank you very much. This was it. I was actually going to edit the whole thing, to be honest, but then I was like, oh, that's weird.
Oh, you could have, but at the same time, how much time do you actually spend on editing a file?
Okay, so it takes a long time. If the files are the ones that I have recorded it myself, let's say I record in like 1 hour, but then I edit in, let's say, in 2 hours, because I also add a little bit of pieces of music here and there. I edit it, I put effect and everything. So those are the things that I do. And then I need to make sure that the volume, the loudness level is the same. There is no background noise. So just removing all of that is going to take a little bit of time, and editing the whole thing, cutting out the parts that I don't want. But I said like double of the time that I record, I would spend on editing. But when I do Mindvalley podcast editing, it takes way longer time because it's interview. Mine is not interview. So that is interview. So I have two different files that I have to make sure that the quality of each of them is perfect. There's no background noise. And then I need to make sure that I edit it perfectly, that we don't have like those glitches in between, or like all of those, all of these that are super extra, or I don't know, clicking fingers, all of these things that people make different noises while they're talking when they get super excited. Those things. And then after that,
I'm like, am I guilty of this?
No. I mean, you were. I told you
was.
before about
Actually, this is what, for everybody listening, I remember Viv would keep swearing at me for the clicking sounds and a bunch of background noise. And let the record state, these were episodes that I had to do while quarantine happened. So I couldn't go to the studio I would go to, and I was in a untreated room. I had to just use the microphone from my headphones, and for the level of quality that we were expecting, we had to sacrifice a lot of episodes. But at the same time, we had a standard to keep up. But most people aren't going to be holding it to that standard when they get started, right?
Of course, no. That's why I say when I am editing your episodes, it's a different thing. But when I'm doing mine, it's a lot easier, obviously. Because when I'm doing mine, I even go like, never mind, it doesn't really matter. This doesn't have to be perfect. But when I do things that are going to be produced and it's going to be like representing the brand, I need to make sure that quality wise, yeah, it aligns with the brand. brand and
Interesting.
everything.
So I'd be curious to know. So when now that we have a sound engineer, does he basically do what you were just doing there?
Funny thing is, yes. So, my sound engineer that I'm working with right now, actually, we had a session, and there were things that I told him. I was like, do this, do this, do this. I don't want you to do this. So, basically, right now, he's working in the way that I want him to work. Before, he was just like, what sound engineers they do, like editing and mastering. So they give you this very like perfect quality audio file that you can use it wherever you want. But then with the podcast is a little bit different. Like, I believe for me it is important to have a little bit of natural voice in it. So if I do ums in the middle of my talking, I want it to be there because
Hmm.
I want people to feel like, okay, she's also a human being. We connect. She's normal. I don't want to put that image of this perfect person out there for people. It really depends on what you're doing. But what our sound engineer is right now doing, he does this. Yeah, pretty much the loudness part. He makes sure that there is no background noise, there's no echoing. So we remove the reverse part. We use this noise reduction. These are all the buttons that you can actually find in Adobe Audition and also in Audacity. They actually have it. You just click on, like, select the whole file and click on them, and they'll do the work for you.
Interesting.
So he does all of that, and I know that he does a little more, like, more professional way, which I don't know what that is. That is the mastering part that he does. So
Interesting.
with different applications. Yeah.
And
But pretty much, yes, pretty much because I was doing it before as well. At the very beginning that I came in, I was actually editing all the audios, and then we got him again.
got it. So then it actually just took away some bandwidth from you, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be curious for the people listening in. We covered a lot of the stuff, which is more of like the technical, like advanced stuff as far as the structure of the episode, as well as how to edit the episode itself, where you can go in and chunk. And when you're using a product like the Adobe Audition here, everything becomes very intuitive. I mean, you've seen how she was able to do it pretty quickly. So if that's the platform you want to use, excuse me. See, I shouldn't be drinking sparkling water while I'm on YouTube Live. So you can see you can start editing out the tracks to make all the sounds match and make everything sound really, really crisp, which is really important to do. But again, it's not the end of the world if it's not done perfectly. But you saw the rules of thumbs that you can apply that don't take that much time. But when you do it, just gives it that little extra easy for people to enjoy listening to you on a podcast, because as Viv has mentioned in the episode that we did together on the podcast, it's an auditory experience for most people, so you might as well put a little bit more love and attention into making that awesome. That 16 tip I think is really valuable. I think most people didn't realize that, and I think it makes a big difference. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what are the roadblocks and what are some of the questions people might have at this point. Or Viv, what are some aspects you think I might have not covered yet when it comes to podcasting? Because we talked about how to launch it, which was a pretty quick and easy, I beg to say even a quick and dirty way to get started. But I really wanted to make sure that people can get started without hesitation. I talked about the basics of how to market the podcast, and I even made sure to differentiate for people the fact that podcast is not a self-discovered tool. It's a tool that you create to build engagement, but you still need to have assets that help people discover that it exists.
True.
So
Oh,
that's a
did
good
you also share the links that I gave you? Because we have those paid promotion links. Maybe you can just put them in the description box to make sure that if anyone wants, they can just click on it easily and then figure things out themselves.
which link are
Super
we
easy.
talking about?
The Spotify link and Podcast Addict link, there were like three links that I shared with you.
Oh, I
I can
don't.
share it with you again, and then you can have it.
The other thing I might want to cover at this point are what are the other things that you need to set up when it comes to publishing the podcast? Because you have like the copy and the title and some elements around the formatting there. And how much do you think we should be covering something like this? And then I'll address some of the questions that I know are coming in already.
I think it's not that important. It would be like a very short part. You just have to mention that they need to have the cover, they need to have the show notes, the title, they need to make sure, because this then it goes to SEO.
Hmm.
So if people know about SEO, sure. you can give them more explanation. That means that requires actually your explanation as well. You need to give them information about what SEO is, how to
Yeah.
use it, what's the best way to find the best title and stuff like this. So I think in a course like this, you can just like give tiny bit of information.
Which I've already covered in the getting
Yeah.
started. So I don't think we're going to go deep into that because I don't think anybody who's launching here is going to do a SEO strategy for their launch. I think
I don't.
once you have a podcast, then you can start optimizing. I do like the question here from Chris, which is, have you ever experienced a blackout during an interview where you didn't listen and didn't have a question?
The didn't listen part I had.
Yeah,
It was so boring.
I've
But can
had
you repeat it?
I've had and I've had sometimes like problem I have is sometimes my interviews are at like 11 p.m. or at 5 a.m. Like I've had times that I'm so tired on the interview. Actually I'm gonna share a story. There's one interview that I did which was with someone that I highly respected, but I was underprepared for the interview and oh man, it was so embarrassing. Like I feel like I bombed the interview. And matter of fact, we didn't release it because the audio actually ended up disconnecting. But I did so bad, the person never wanted to reschedule the interview with me. And I was a little
Wow.
heartbroken, but that was probably my worst interview because I fundamentally didn't understand the latest book that they read. I knew of their first book, but they had written another book that I wasn't aware of. I hadn't did my research thoroughly enough, and I hadn't discovered that they had just released another book that I knew nothing about. It was embarrassing, and this would be the closest to a blackout that I've went through, Chris, where it's just you're like, all right. So I had no solution for that one. The only thing I would say is you definitely want to make sure you're well prepared for the interview. And what I could do possibly is I can show people some of the briefs that I prepare for interviews, and maybe just do a session here where I explain people how to prepare for interviews. But in the meantime, I'd love to know for you, because you've run some interviews as well, what were the levels of preparation that you would do in your interviews?
Honestly, I would say my work is completely different from yours because you have all of these big names in the industry being interviewed by you. So I don't have those, so I cannot just search the name of the person and go like, oh, I can have all of this information through, I don't know, Wikipedia or like their LinkedIn. Some of them they don't even know what these are. So what I always do is I actually bring in people on my show, so I study them myself. I study their social media, their Instagram, their Twitter, and I figure out what type of person they are. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? It would be perfect if I could have you on my show. So I already have all of this information. I choose the person to come to the show. That's what I always do. And then about the question and stuff, I would say I just said always I think about this one thing. If I am the listener of this podcast about this topic, what do I want to know more about? Then I write down some of the questions that I have. I ask a couple of my close friends, be like, okay, let's say if you're interviewing this guy, what do you want to ask? So I get some questions from friends, but then when I start the interview, I have those bullet points, but we will just see where the conversation takes us, and I can add or remove questions in the middle because it's not something live, right? So I can just be like, oh, I don't like this question. Or the person will be like, oh, I don't want to answer this question. So I'll be like, no matter what, it's okay. I'm just going to cut it out. Don't worry about it.
I think that's an important point to bring up. So, Chris, one thing to note is that the podcast is not live and you can always chop it up, like Viv just mentioned. And I think we forget that because you listen to a podcast, you're like, wow, it's flawless. They've done this in one take. But that's the magic of the editing, right?
Mhm.
And so, if you can cut out pieces, even if a question wasn't asked properly, I'd say I haven't had a blackout moment, but I once had someone that I asked them a question. They started answering something so different. At the end, they're like, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm not even answering your question. And I would say, like, no worry, let me ask it again. Now, as far as blacking out because I didn't listen or I didn't have a question, I would personally say that it's happened to me very rarely because if there's one thing that I try to do when I do interviews is like actively listen. Like that's my really only job as a host is to listen. And if like my almost level of attentiveness during an interview is the assumption that if this person would just stop and be like, "Can you repeat the question?" I need to be ready to repeat that question. And it's happened so many times that like it gets asked and I need to bring back the question. I think it's only happened twice that I couldn't figure out the right question that I had just asked, which already showed that I wasn't present for that interview. And so having this ridiculous amount of presence is the gift that you're supposed to have when you're hosting. That's what that's your job, is to be present in the interview. And so yeah, sometimes, you feel like you're going to black out, but one of the sides of the coin is, don't worry, it's not live, you can cut it out. The second part of the coin is your job is to be present and to listen. So you should be very attentive in the interview, because that's what you're doing as a podcast host. So I hope that answers the question. But I can't think of a specific example aside from that time that I just wasn't prepared enough. And what I think I could do actually at this point is I could show some of the preparation that I do. But it's funny, Viv, is because I don't do the preparation, so I don't know. Busted. I'm going to make a reveal for everybody listening, is I actually haven't been doing the preparation for my interviews for the last year. And the reason is because I actually hired an assistant who does all of my preparation. But what I'm willing to do is just show you the information that I collect and give you some ideas on where you can find this information. It's not rocket science. Like, what's great about interviewing people is if you ask them for their bio, they're going to give it to you and they're going to tell you the things they want to talk about. And if you bring anybody who wants to speak of anything, they know their topic. And so it's not as stressful to ask them questions as much as it's just important for you to be curious about what they talk about. I think my genuine sense of curiosity is actually what leads my questions. I don't have prepared questions before I interview people. I just ask from my curiosity what I would want to learn from this person now that I have them in front of me. And that's usually how all my interviews flow. But I think I could do a quick piece of content just to show what is the level of preparation, because I think the best thing that I do as a courtesy for the guest is I do prepare a document that I say, hey, I'll do some research and I can read some background. You can see the information that I include, which does become useful when you want to pull up some of the models they mention within their book and things like that. Viv, you're going to be the muted one for a moment.
Love that.
All right. So in the meantime, are you able to comment on this platform? Do you have your own ability to comment on the chat?
Me, I don't think so. No.
No, eh? So, all right. So I see Gemma here was asking about the preparation. I'm going to make that reveal for everyone. So what I'm going to do, Viv, this is going to be like a 2-minute video, but I'm going to move this to me only here. So let me just switch the scene. I'm going to go solo, and I'm going to actually put a mute on you, Viv, but we're going to join back. We're going to wrap this up. So we'll do this video, which is going to teach you how to prepare for an interview, and then what research you should do. And we're going to wrap up the video after and just say hi to everybody tuning in. And by the way, if you're tuning in, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope this is useful for you. If this is useful, definitely leave us a comment on how much you enjoy this. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can do that now, and definitely join our course on podcasting, because all the piece of contents from here are going to be part of that course. So Viv and I wanted to make sure that this was made available for everybody. And of course, if you're not already on that Telegram group where we have the podcast starting people, this is going to be a place we can interact as well. So let me do a quick one here. I'm going to also see if I can do my screen share, which I think, let's see here. If I click here, I need to open my system preferences. No, I don't need that. But I'm going to click on this, and I'm seeing a background, but I don't know what this background is. What are we seeing? What does it mean? Aha. I'm going to switch it to my Google Chrome. On my secondary display, I believe it is going to show for people. Interesting. Why is it not showing on maybe the primary display? Let's see. No. Sorry, everybody. I'm doing a bit of a troubleshooting because I feel... Hey, Aiden. I see Aiden just dropped in. You're going to be joining for a little part. I'm going to unmute you, Viv, because I'm wondering if people can just see my screen or what's going on here. It doesn't seem like it's working.
It is not. Maybe stop sharing and then share again.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over here. Okay, hi, everybody. I'm just technical difficulty. It happens. Just want to make sure we got this working. I don't need the system audio, so this is okay. Yeah, I know. I can see the rocks in the sea too, and I'm wondering what's going on. So I got I want to have my Google Chrome. I've said it. My Google Chrome is the only application that's on. Why would you just show this to me? So give me a moment as I try to figure out this application. And now I can see how this platform's working. But why you don't want to show me? That's crazy. So I am sharing my screen, but it's not doing a screen share. So I am sorry, everybody. I don't think I'll be able to do this video. I'll have to do it after the fact. But I'll actually do something even better is I'm going to share the document in the comments. Actually, there's a new episode that just released today on Superhumans at Work. I'm going to post it in the podcast group, so people will be able to see it there, and I'll post it in the chat as well. So if you want to see the episode that just came out today is with Joe Polish. Does anybody know who Joe Polish?
I do.
Oh, you do now. How'd you like that episode, by the way?
I loved it. I love this guy. He's awesome.
He steamrolled. That was the easiest interview I ever had to do. I just asked like 3 questions and he just steamrolled for 20 minutes. I was like, yes. So I just want to make sure people can access the document I just shared with everyone. So if you can log in, I should see you all jumping in. I'm seeing people are selecting. Oh, I don't know if everybody has editing right. Please don't edit anything. Somebody's going to click delete all, and I'm going to know who.
Then make sure you share the link that doesn't give them the access to edit.
I think I...
do.
Yeah, I don't know what I shared. Let me see what the file says. Is everybody's allowed to can edit. Oh, that's fun. So everyone on the internet, please don't edit. I'm going to change that to view only. And there you go. This will change my permission. Well, I think this will be good.
I don't think so. Because you're the owner.
Actually, I think Christina's the owner. Okay.
Yeah, but you're the one who did this.
I did this. So everybody, if you can see this document, if you're on the document right now, this is going to be really useful for what we're talking about right now. But you can see here in Joe Polish's bio, I basically went and... Oh, see, I need to reload it because my access was expired. So I think for everybody, we'll have the same effect going on. Yeah, there we go. So now I can't edit. Right now. Okay, sorry. I got scared with all of you going in and deleting stuff, or you probably just... Okay, so you can see whenever there's an interview coming up, there'll be like a backstory of who they are, what did they create, where have they been featured, and this is all thing you can find if you just do a bit of Googling on the person. Like I remember how I actually went ahead and told my assistant, I gave them one case study. I said, this is a guest that I need to interview. And what I want you to do is imagine this is an assignment in school and you're the person who's going to get the top marks in the class. I want you to go for the A+. You have 2 weeks to give me your A+ homework on this one person. And they submitted their work within 3 days. And they submitted all this information on one person. And I said, yes, that's exactly what I want. And they've been preparing the briefs for every single person that I interview. And so here you see they talked about the core of what they teach, which is what is an ELF business, which is easy, lucrative, and fun, as opposed to a half business, which is hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, which is a really fun way to look at businesses. And it's a lot of what Joe Polish teaches, especially in his Per Annum marketing courses. So I had some overview around what are the types, what are his concepts he shares? What are his types of entrepreneurs he talked about? And as long as I had this framework, I could take the conversation in beautiful ways. So I actually prepare for my interviews about 10 minutes before I go live. Like most of my interviews are at 6 in the morning. So I wake up at 5:30. I'll have a glass of water. I'll come upstairs, just rinse my face, sit at the computer, turn on these lights that are in my face. For those who don't realize, I do have a bit of a studio setup, which I'll show to everybody in a second. And then I'll take 10 minutes to read this brief, and I'll look at a few notes. I'll be like, okay, I think we're good to go. And then I'll just read. So if I do an introduction for Joe Polish, I have their biography in front of me, and I'll say, hi, everybody. Welcome to Superhumans at Work. This is your host, Jason Mark Campbell. Today, I'm going to have an extraordinary guest. His name is Joe Polish. He's the founder of the Genius Network and Genius X, one of the highest groups of world for entrepreneurs. He's been an entrepreneurial focus on value creation, connection, contribution. He curates an annual Genius Network event, a Genius Network for $25,000 and $100,000, which sounds really expensive, and everybody's happy being a part of it. So we'll dig more into why He's created a documentary called Connected, the Joe Polish story. He runs a podcast called I Love Marketing, 10X Talks, and Genius Network. They're amazing podcasts you can check about as well. And he has charitable causes such as Make-A-Wish Foundation, Artists for Addicts, Genius Recovery, and JoeVolunteer.com. As a big contributor, he's going to be here to share us a bit about what is the difference between a half business and an elf business. So with that said, Joe, welcome to the show. So you see here, I kind of went monologue mode, but what I was doing is just scanning through the bio right on the spot and just picking things that I think are interesting. And I think that gives it a bit of a flowy. And then I could, a lot of times starting the podcast, I love starting with the backstory and just being like, Joe, I know you have an amazing story of transformation. Like when you were 18 years old, you weighed 105 pounds. That sounds really bad, but I know now you're doing incredible things. So can you walk us through that transformation? And that's an incredible way to start. And then once they've shared their story, they're usually going to drop in what was that transformational moment, which usually ties to what is it that they teach. So I'll say like, wow, okay, so you've really learned to embrace this marketing and sales stuff. Teach us how you actually were able to apply these concepts of marketing to creating what you got, an elf business. What is that? I'm just curious. And so I think if you have this curiosity about it, you're going to be able to detect a lot of ways to interact with the guest that'll create some epic content. And that's about it. And the rest, you're going to just go do interviews. Like if you're scared about interviewing and not feeling prepared, just ask people to go on Instagram live with you, because you can invite people to do interviews with you. It's just practice. You can even go, like I would give a dare for anybody who's listening to this part, which is going to be cut out of the course. So this is just for the people live. So pay attention. Send me a direct message on Instagram and invite me to be interviewed by you on Instagram, and I will gladly do it. And go and interview Viv. Now, she'll have a choice to say yes or no, so you better make a good pitch. But you can practice with me first. I'll say yes to everybody who's here, and then you'll have your first interview, and I can even give you feedback on it. So that'll be a little gift for anybody who's tuning in live. And Viv, is there anything you think we missed or you think we should cover? Because I think we got pretty much the big elements here.
Yeah, I think we got it all. I mean, the editing part and stuff, I think if you add that YouTube link, it will be perfect because it gives the whole explanation. One thing that I want to mention about finding out, like getting prepared for the interview, is because I need to also do show notes and stuff, and sometimes I need to prepare some briefs on the people who are going to be interviewed by Vision. I need to do it for him. What I do is that I search the name of the person. Mostly you can find the information on Wikipedia. The other place that you can find it easily is LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times, you'll be surprised, but most of the times these people have websites and they have literally written what they want you to know in the About Me part.
Yeah.
So it's super easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like, nah. So when we will find anything dodgy on you when we start a pre-interview, Jason, lol, you will find a lot of dodgy stuff from me, and you can maybe throw me a curveball during that interview on what you do find. Actually, what I think some people might find is I used to have this little blog I tried back in 2013, which was called Home Business Boy. And I had like this logo design with my face, glasses, and I was so chubby that I just had like this chubby head as my logo. But that was a fun past. I wonder if people are gonna have to find it. I think so. I'm gonna go see if you can find it. It's terrible.
Today I just watched your cover letter video, which was fun.
Oh no!
This one.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, you can find it. Where is it? Home Business Boy. I really wish I could share my screen right now. And yes, Aiden, it was called Home Business Boy. No shame, right? I only have it there's a Facebook page for it. This was like, oh my God, the story about this is like...
Is it .co.uk?
No, it wasn't .co.uk. I don't remember the website. I feel like I had a .com. Did I have a .com? Oh my God, and guess what? I was sharing on the last post I did for this page was actually sharing a video of Vision, because I was like a fanboy of Mindvalley before I worked for Mindvalley, right? Let's see. Oh wait, that's a bad link.
I have your website. I can actually share my screen,
Yeah, you should be sharing it. And then actually, and guess what? It is homebusinessboy.com. I did have the .com. So, my God. Yeah, the logo, right? Isn't that fun? Aiden, at least you can share me some love. Thank you for that. It's the validation I was looking for. Although it doesn't look like the website's working. Is it working for you?
The website, I don't know, it's loading.
You know what? I feel
But I
like,
can see Vision everywhere on Facebook.
well, I can see it on Facebook, right? There's a Facebook page. So you can find the Facebook page. If you find Home Business Boy on Facebook, oh, there you go. You have your screen share. Let me just screen share you. So there you go. This is it. I was sharing some Vision content, and see, this is in 2015. So I was working
Beautiful.
for Mind Valley. Yeah, my God. So yeah,
This is
we've all
actually good.
this logo, right? Look, it was chubby Jason with glasses,
Yeah.
like
No, it's
Iggy.
cool, man. Come on.
Home Business Boy. Maybe I should start a
I
podcast called
think
Home Business Boy.
this one is not working, the website though.
Yeah, I think
But yeah,
it's an old WordPress hosted website. I don't even know how the hell that thing would have survived because I probably had some host. Oh my God. Yeah, I'd have to go
when
way
was this
back.
for? Ages ago, right?
This was
It's
ages
February
ago. This was because
23rd.
some guy, okay, listen to this. Okay, people are maybe going to judge me for this, but I had a guy reach out to me and he's like, "Hey, I have this product, right?" And like as soon as they said that, I'm like, "Oh boy, this is going to be an MLM," which it was. And so I ended up signing up to this MLN, which was called Send Out Cards, and it was about um, how you could actually send um, handwritten notes that was automated. So you would actually submit your handwriting to this chart, which they would now create a font based on your unique handwriting, and you could send greeting cards to people that was personalized with your handwriting. Um,
I love
which was a
that.
great sales tool. And then I was just building a blog for Home Business Boy because I was like, oh, I'll try to attract some people that want to work from home. And what do people that want to work from home want? They want to join MLMs. That's not what they want, but that's what they end up doing. So yeah, so I was promoting that, and then no clue what I was doing. I'll be quite honest, no clue what I was doing. So I was posting stuff, I was writing blogs, and funny enough, I remember writing an article which was why setting goals is a waste of time.
Wow.
And then I learned how to properly set goals, and I was like, okay, no, actually setting goals is pretty important. Um, so yeah. Oh, thanks, Chris. She's giving me a bit of love. I'll take that. I'll take the validation.
I
So
told you school all this time, man. Jesus.
thank you. Thank you. Well, Viv, I have to say thank you so much for joining on the live. I think this was a lot of fun. I think we covered some important content. And everybody tuning in, thanks for coming. This was a lot of fun. Again, do subscribe if you want to make sure you can join some future YouTube lives that I'll be doing on this platform because it's really fun and we're always creating courses with it. So eventually I'll be creating my course on sales by using this technique, and I'm hoping we're going to have a lot of people joining us for that. And of course, if you want to follow Viv, Viv, I think what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Instagram?
Yeah, let's just
But you
throw up.
put the link right there because if I say Vivian Vivid, everyone goes with like different spelling.
Yeah. Let me go grab that, and I'm gonna make sure that we
Do you
share it right
remember that
here.
I sent you a message on Instagram for the very first time and you ignored me because you didn't
Yeah,
know who I was?
that this is a true story, and I'm very sorry. I was like, wait, why am I getting a feedback from a random person? Who are you? And Viv is very critical, so I felt insulted. But anyways, I had a lot of fun. So Chris, Gemma, Rosanna, Aiden, thank you for joining and being so active and participated. I see that Aiden's went creeping. I think loves the title, the logo. Aiden, if you'd like, I could sell it to you if you want to become the new home business boy. And then uh, anti yeah, seriously, home business boy was an anti Lifebook man, and Lifebook is what kicked me in the butt to make me realize that Lifebook and setting goals is really important. So I kind of went 180 on that one. Um, and yeah, it is my truth, Chris. It is what it is, and I'm glad you guys had some fun. Um, and with that, I made sure that the link for Viv is there. Follow me as well on Instagram, but I think most of the people already do. There is a link to the course of the podcast on the Instagram as well. And we will do this again and we'll have some more fun. So, Viv, once again, thanks you for tuning in. And everybody here, thanks for coming on live with us. And you'll have this updated in the podcast course with the recordings of the content that Viv had provided for us. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, guys. Bye.